All right, good morning, everybody. Today we're going to review the new releases for all applications, and I'll start with USAS. We're on the main SSDT meetings and trainings page. And like always, down below, you can find the recap for calendar year 2023. And we're going to go over the November releases. All right, so USAS had two regular releases, which included several improvements, including, I'm still letting people in. So we included several improvements, including how the report format options are displayed. So now you're going to see the most commonly used formats listed first when you go to choose your, whether it's a PDF or an Excel data, you're going to see these listed just like this in the most commonly used formats. Another improvement is we encourage people to start using the canned reports because they're better performance. We updated the canned PO detail report to function like the template report when generated in the Excel data format. So let me give you an example. Oh, sorry. When you generate the canned report in the Excel data, now you're going to see the fields that you saw in the template, which include the description, is outstanding, whether it's invoiceable, full account code, as well as some of these other options that you guys missed on the canned report, but now is included. So those options are now included when generating, and I'll show you that report. When generating this report and choosing the Excel data. And you see like the improvement that I mentioned right before, you can see how it's now listed in the most commonly used formats. We also implemented the ability to delete a requisition. Sorry, moving my notes out of my way. We implemented the ability to delete a requisition without reopening the posting period. If you remember, to edit or add any kind of transaction, including a requisition, it's got to be in an open posting period. So this will give you the user the ability, but there are a couple things that you got to do. And let me go into the system and I'll show you. First, you got to disable. Let me go back into the admin role. You go under system rules. There's a rule that needs to be disabled in order to do this, and it's not a mandatory rule. And the rule is requisition closed, period. So I'm just going to wild card the requisition. You can see it like right here that it's enabled. So when you edit it, you unclick the enable and you save it. This rule prevents requisitions from being deleted in a closed posting period. So if the user wants to delete a requisition, this is one step they need to do. Once they do it and they delete the requisition, they should remember to come back and enable it if they need to, or if they choose to. So after you do that individually on the rule, remember you got to activate the rule in order for it to be effective. The other thing that needs to be done in order to delete a requisition in a closed period would be to the the pre-encumbrance module must not be enabled or must not be installed. And the reason is because when the pre-encumbrance module is installed, the requisition amounts are being tracked on the account, and thus, since it's being tracked on the account, the posting period needs to be open so the account and the reports are updated. So the pre-encumbrance module can't be installed. So let's go to system modules. And please ask if you have any questions. The pre-encumbrance module is not installed, so we're good there. The third thing that we need to check is if the requisition workflow is enabled, and it is here because I can see it on the menu. And I have an example set up. Requisitions that are currently in progress, like already submitted through the workflow approval process, can't be deleted because they're like in that approval process. Only workflow statuses of pending, which the pending status is a requisition that has not been submitted through the workflow. It's just been created. It can be rejected or canceled. If it's in progress or approved, but not yet converted, there is a way to do that, and I'll show you that in a minute. So first, I am going to go log in as a treasurer, the final approver in any and all groups, chains. First, I'm going to show you that we're in November as the current posting period, but just to show you that all other periods are closed. Then I'm going to go to the requisition grid. And I'm just going to start filtering converted false. And since since we're looking at closed posting periods, I'm going to filter to anything older than 11/1. So now you can see that the rejected can be deleted. The pending, because it has not even been submitted to any kind of work group or a requisition group chain for approval. You can't do the approved, but the canceled, pending, and rejected can be deleted. So I'll just do one. Oh, wait. Notice these are all closed or in a closed period. So I'll even do the July one. So the canceled requisition can be deleted now because those three things were taken into account. So remember, I filtered this grid to false. So these are approved requisitions, but not yet converted. How can I get those to be canceled? Let me show you this user's roles. And we're under the treasurer. The person that can recall a requisition that's already been submitted into the workflow chain for approval can recall it. So like the secretary who entered the requisition, for example, can recall that requisition, even if it's approved, but not yet converted. Or I'm just going to edit this to make it darker. Any user like the treasurer in this example has the bypass role. So this user as the treasurer can bypass any approval while it's in the flow, if that makes sense. So we're going to go back to the requisitions. Converted false. And I want to look at the approval. If we're going to take this August one. It's been through the approval process and it's been approved. It's ready to be converted, but it's not yet converted. What you want to do, since you can't delete it here, is view this and then recall it. And again, I'm in a user with the bypass role. So whether it's the secretary that entered this originally or the bypass role, you recall it. Well, of course, it's live. It worked when I was preparing for this. So let's try a different one. Okay, so that one worked because when you recall it, you can submit it for approval again. If you need to like correct it for something, you would recall a requisition to like correct the account, to delete it, to correct the vendor. So now I did the first one. If I get rid of the approved filter, it is now sitting in a pending. I forget which requisition it was, but it was a cafe one, I believe. So let's do another one. Cafe 001. If I view it, it's approved, but not converted. Recall it. And if I go back to the grid, Cafe 001, I am now able to delete it because it's not in the approved or in progress status. But if you remember, it is in an old period, closed period. So now you got rid of that. And I believe the other one was this one because now that one can be deleted. So that's been a good improvement. Once you do this though, if the user needs to, they need to go back and possibly re-enable or reinstall the pre-encumbrance module as well as re-enable that rule. So just keep that in mind. Any questions on that? I know not everybody uses workflows, but I hope I made sense explaining that for those that don't use it.
So you can re-enable the pre-encumbrance module after this, and it won't be broken. It won't like have wrong data.
No, that is correct.
That's great. I don't think I realized that from the notes. And so you're saying too, any reports that have pre-encumbrance amounts on them, hypothetically, those could be run when the rule is off and the pre-encumbrance module is off, or you can only run reports with pre-encumbrance amounts on if the module is on. I have one that's not doing this because of the loss of the pre-encumbrance, and so I think that this might satisfy them if they could just do this once a month, purges all the stuff out and then turn it back on. I think that would make them happy.
If they want that requisition tracked on the account, the one that you're deleting, then it's going to have to be enabled. But if you're wanting to delete that requisition so it's not tracked on the accounts or the reports, then you can disable the module.
Okay. I think what they want is they've got, for whatever reason, and this is awesome. Thank you for showing this, especially the recall part, because we were getting hung up on that yesterday, how to get the approved ones out of there. For whatever reason, they have a huge amount of approved ones that then they decided to never convert to purchase orders. So I think they want to track the pre-encumbrance. They just want to clean up this massive amount of recs that never made it through the system. So that's good. I will have them turn it back on once we get it cleaned up. Thank you.
You're welcome. I believe that is, oh, there was one other internal thing that the developers did regarding the report bundles at the application startup. They did something in the cache. So if there's no other questions for you, Sass, I will turn it over to review the USPS releases for November. Everybody have a good weekend.
Okay. I got everything situated here. Everybody seeing my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to the payroll side. Not a lot of things to talk about this morning. We did have 2 regular releases, and mainly those focused on improving the font size on several reports. So as you recall, in past releases, we had several reports of sporadic font size changing in reports for no real apparent reason. And it did take some time for our developers to finally find the culprit. So they've been going through each and every report and making those changes with those enhancements to fix the problem. So all of these reports here that we've listed have been improved, and you should no longer see that sporadic font size, change. It should stay consistent no matter, what day it is, what time it is, and so forth. I did want to point out that we did have a report recently in regards to the pay report, and that was one that was fixed on a prior release. And there was a report that the pre-posted pay report, that font size was changing. The developers looked into this, and that change on that version of the report was unfortunately not changed with the release that went out earlier in that enhancement. So that will be fixed on the 7/7 release. So that's, in a couple weeks, so that the pre-posted pay report font size should no longer change. The posted pay report that you see when you go into the details of the payroll, that, has been corrected and that's fixed. It's just that pre-posted pay report. So you can see here the list of reports that those enhancements have been made to. I don't need to go through them all. You're able to read. So that's, basically the improvements that we had for the month of November. We do have one new feature, and that's the ability to create the W2C submission file. We are going to have Fridays with Fiscal devoted to the whole W2C process, but I did want to step through just a real brief, basic explanation on how that's going to work. Hopefully you're all familiar with the options that we've added in prior releases pertaining to the W2C process. But I'm just, whoops, got logged out here, sorry. Real quickly want to go through that and just show you so we're all on the same page. Obviously, these aren't features that you're going to use, or districts aren't going to use now. It's probably something, in the month of, January, February, when those submission files have already been created and then submitted. And there's really no other alternative outside of, filing a W2C. So we've now incorporated those, that ability in the software. So under reports, there is a separate line item called, or menu option called W2 corrections. And there are three, excuse me, I will tickle in my throat. There are three options, very similar to the W2 report options, in that you create the records, you run the report, you can generate the forms, and then the submission file. So that submission file was the last piece that we just added. So within W2 corrections, if you want to create then that W2C record, you would go to the W2C records option, and you're going to click create. You're going to enter your employee, and in this case, I'm using Buddy the Elf as our employee, since we've now, turned the page into December. So we're using Buddy the Elf, and we're going to make sure your year is correct, and we're going to click create correction record. So here's basically, what a W2C form would look like, in that the original box is listed, and then the corrected box is below it. So in this case, maybe you have an incorrect social security number. So you're going to correct or enter that original SSN that was on the original submission file, and then the new or updated information. So here's an example then of, this employee's, Buddy the Elf's, original social security number. And I'm just going to actually copy that right from the W2 report so that I don't incorrectly type anything. And then maybe the updated version, maybe a number got transposed and it should have been 82. So once you have all the corrected information on the actual W2 record, you can see there's the box 12, box 14, other state corrections, and local corrections. All of those sections are listed below and, broke out specifically for those areas as well. I'm going to save the record. And now you can see in the grid that record that that W2C record that I've added. So then my next step would be to actually go through, excuse me, I have to take a quick drink. Sorry about that. And run the report. So there's a W2C report and submission option. And I'm going to click on the report option. And then I'm going to generate a report. You can see I've already added Buddy the Elf to my selected employees. You don't have to specify an employee if you want to generate this for everybody. Just like other report options, you would leave this selected employees option blank, and it's going to generate the report for all the information that you have in that records area. So I actually think I have the report generated here. You can see here that the original social security number is listed, and then my updated or corrected record is listed. So again, anything that I've, entered on that records area is going to be generated on my report. I would want to double and triple check this, make sure everything's accurate, everything looks correct. And I'm going to go back then to that option we were just in, and I can actually generate the form, and I can generate the submission file. So you can see the options slightly change when I click the forms option. I have that ability, and I've already generated that. And you can see here that I've generated the W2 form, so the original form, and it has, the last two digits of the social security number that are incorrect listed as 28. And now you can see I've generated the W2C form, and it, says that right in the title, because I left that report title as is, and the form is the actual W2C form. So any areas that I've corrected then are going to be listed on the form itself. One thing to keep in mind, once you generate the form, let me go ahead and click this option here. You can see here that just like the regular W2 forms, that it's placed in the form output view option. So if I go to W-2 corrections again, and I go to W-2 form output files, here's where you're going to see that form then that I can actually generate. It only keeps, just like W-2 forms, the most recent 2 versions. So you're going to see then, you know, if I've run this multiple times, those older versions of the forms disappear. So that just prevents from, you know, the wrong file from getting downloaded and used. But I wanted to point out one extra step. Just like your regular W-2 forms, if you want these to be sent to the file archive, there's that extra step that you have to click on, that icon, to send this actually to the file archive. So don't forget that extra piece there if you want those to be maintained and saved to go back and reference in the future. So let's go back then to the W-2C form, and you can see that anything that we've corrected, you know, is going to be listed on the form itself. All right, so the previously reported SSN ending in 28, and then the corrected SSN ending in 82. Okay. And then the last part would be to actually create the submission file. So we're going to go back to W-2C report and submission, and we're going to change the option from report. So we started with report, then we created the form. Now we're going to create the submission file. So again, looks very similar to the W-2 submission option. You're going to click the generate submission file option, and then that's going to generate your submission file. This is the file then that can be obviously, you know, uploaded and sent to correct any information that was reported incorrectly on the original file. Okay. Are there any questions when it comes to the W-2C submission stuff that we've covered? Like I said, we are going to hold Fridays with Fiscal and go into that process a little more in depth than what I just did. Kind of gave you a quick overview there. Probably towards like the end of January, the beginning of February, when you're actually, you know, when it's going to be used and kind of fresh in your mind. So just pointing it out that it's out there and it's ready to go. So if you get questions on that, you know everything that's involved and kind of the basics to use it. All right. I don't think I see any questions here, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to turn it over to Michelle to talk about inventory. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Lori. Good morning, everybody. Happy December. Can't believe it's December already. Got my Christmas tree shirt on and I'm ready to go. So what we're going to cover today is I'm going to go back to the recap page here, and we're going to go into the actual inventory updates. And also I'm going to also go through and explain some of the changes that were made to JIRA when we did the migration over to the cloud-based JIRA last week. And I want to take you through the customizing a dashboard real briefly, because I did record a demo on it as well, explaining it in more detail, and also the JIRA Service Desk, because with that cloud migration, it did come with new URLs. So if you guys are having trouble trying to get into the portal, the Service Desk portal, or your emails and stuff like that, please let us know. I know Catherine sent out a message, so you can notify Catherine or I and let us know if you're having troubles with creating a service desk ticket now that everything's migrated over. So I do want to take some time this morning to talk about that. Before we do, let's talk about inventory. We've been busy with some hot fixes here in November. We had 3 hot fixes that went out on the 1.43 release, and we've had some bug fixes on there. The first one is we did correct several problems related to depreciation adjustments. So what was happening is when people were reporting some problems with balancing from the prior year to the new year. And what was happening is some of those depreciation adjustments that were made weren't being recorded properly or being removed from the depreciation adjustment area of the item. So I think a few of them, when making a manual depreciation adjustment, the adjustment was duplicated when the fiscal year was closed, so we fixed that. When using the depreciate option on the grid, that internal adjustment gets created on the item, but when they close, then it zeroed that out. So we fixed that as well. And also we are preventing depreciation adjustments to be done when this period is just current. Period has to now be current and open in order to make those depreciation adjustments. So that's all kind of involved with these fixes that we made on this particular bullet. Also, we made some changes or some bug fixes on the schedule of changed and fixed assets. What was happening on the actual detail report, the total amount of the adjustment was displaying correctly, but on the detail report, it also lists each item, and the amount wasn't showing on the item, just the total was. It was showing 0. So we fixed that to include that. The third bullet here, a calculation that's used by the book value, the fixed asset by type, and the schedule of change in depreciation. Those are all involving depreciation. It was causing the life-to-date depreciation amount to not include adjustment transactions. So we fixed that as well to include that. And then the last bug fix was causing problems with database connection failures when they were trying to close out and the inventory report bundle was being generated. So we did a quick hot fix on that so that these districts can get their report bundle created. So those were our bug fixes for this past month. We did have one improvement as well. Again, we were getting some tickets about balancing issues from the prior year ending balance to the New Year's beginning balance, and found that it was an issue with the original cost amount versus the total amount of all the acquisitions against that item. So remember, when you're looking at the original cost of an item, that amount of the original cost should be the total of all the acquisitions tied to that item. So that item could have 5 different acquisitions. As long as those acquisitions have the update original cost checkmarked, then those should be adding up and being reflected on the original cost of the item. So what we did in order to fix that so that those amounts agree is we created a recalculate option. And let me take you into my inventory instance here. And I'm just going to go to a particular item, on an active item, and just so we really added it in 3 different areas. So we added it here under the recalculate option, and I believe that this option is only available for admin. It is not available for a standard user. They will see the option, but will be grayed out for them. And we did that on purpose because that could really, that could affect the way things are, reflected. You want to make sure that, run a test to make sure that the amounts are reflected correctly, when you're running this recalculate option. So it's a pretty important tool that we felt should be restricted to admin access. And so with that, If they are having an issue with their original costs not equaling the total amount of all the acquisitions against that item, then they need to contact you, and then you can run this recalculate option to see if that resolves the issue. So you'll see it here on the actual item grid. I'm in items. And so you could click on those particular items that need to be recalculated and click on recalculate, and it will go out there, add up all the acquisition amounts against that item, and make sure that it's recording the proper amount then on the original cost of that item. So that's one way of doing it. Also, I believe if you go into an item, I'll just pick on one of these and just view it, you're going to see the recalculate option in here as well. It does have a little tooltip here when you hover over it. So you can go in and recalculate it from here. And also underneath the migration importer. So again, this is only an access that you guys would have. It's under system, configuration, migration import. There's also an option here to recalculate the original cost for items so that the total of all the acquisitions match that original cost. So that's if you're going in and doing a migration. These are, districts that are starting up on inventory, just making sure that those balance once everything gets imported in. So you want to make sure that that's check marked as well. So those are the three different options or three different ways that you can recalculate the original cost versus the acquisition amount. I'm not sure if that's been documented yet, but we will certainly get that documented out there in the inventory manual. So that's all for our inventory releases. Do you guys have any questions before I get started on the JIRA update? Okay. Well, I'm going to take you over to our meetings and trainings page here. And we do have and I know you guys know this already, but it doesn't hurt to hear it again. We do have an ITC only support resources area in the meetings and trainings page that is just for you guys. And we've added not too long ago a support area for new ITC staff that just kind of shows you just an overview of the support resources available for new staffers. So that's in there for them. And then we have these areas here on JIRA. And so a while ago, we went over the support desk best practices. So that's out there to review. And what we've recently updated, well, we updated them all because with the JIRA migration last week, it affected the URLs that you were using and what I called old JIRA now. So the cloud-based JIRA, we had to have new URLs for that. So we updated the documentation to reflect that. And what we've done is, I don't know how many of you are using the dashboard feature in JIRA to customize a dashboard for yourself. And I'm kind of pushing it because I think it would be something very helpful to go out there and look at the different state software projects and be able to track, what's outstanding right now. If, I could create a filter of all the outstanding payroll core project issues. And then from there, I could go in and do a quick search. Do they, what's still needing to be done for W2C? I could do a search on W2C and see if there's still any outstanding issues against that. Also, I know several of you have watched issues, selected to watch an issue. Well, with the dashboard, you can set up a filter to run basically a running total of all the different issues that you're currently watching. So they're all together in one spot. I want to kind of go over like a brief just demo of that. But like I said, I also did a recording and I believe that I put that on each of these. So I'm going to go to the dashboard first. And the recorded demo is in here. Like I said, we've updated all of this. And basically, you guys can pull this up and take a look at this while I go in and create a couple filters and then a custom dashboard. Just a brief overview. to, you know, and I know that's a lot of information that I'm going to show you here in a little bit, but like I said, go to the recorded demonstration here, and that will take you through more detailed, a more detailed demo of how to go in and create your custom dashboard. So what I've done is underneath, I'm logged into a custom dashboard, and my dashboard is basically mimicking an ITC staff dashboard. So right now, when I log into dashboards, the JIRA account that I have, I don't have a custom dashboard yet. When you first log in and you haven't created a custom dashboard yet, and just a side note too, if you did create a custom dashboard in the old JIRA, you're going to need to create a new one. You've probably found that out already. And we had to as well. So it did not migrate over to the cloud. So that's why we thought, again, it'd be a good time to show you this now, in case you need to recreate your custom dashboard, because it does work differently. And so you'll notice here, when I log in to my account and I click on the dashboard, it's just showing me the default one. I don't have a custom one yet. Before I get started on that custom dashboard and creating that, I need to create some filters first. I want to create filters to pull in a filter for just outstanding USPS core projects, outstanding USAS core projects, etc. So I want to show you how to do that before we create that custom dashboard. So when you're logged in, you're also going to see a filters section here. And so when I click on the filters, I can go to view all filters, and it's going to show me some predefined state software filters that have been created. I don't have any filters yet. I haven't created any personal filters for myself. That's what I'm going to get started on. So this is just showing me what's out there already. But I want to create filters for myself so I can put it on my custom dashboard. So I'm going to click on Create Filter over here off to the far right. And what it's going to do is it's going to take me into an actual search of all the different projects that are out there right now. And so the first thing I want to do is, first off, I want to make sure that my view is the list type view. If you see kind of a different view, just click on that over there to get the list type view so you can see a listing of all the projects. And then I go straight to this menu bar here. And this is what I'm working with in order to create my filter. So right now it's showing me all the projects. Well, I just want payroll. So I'm going to click on the down arrow next to it, and I can start typing it in, or I can search on it, or I can, scroll through and see it. But what I'm basically looking for is the core USPSR project. I can also do a separate filter on the feedback project if I want to, but I'm just going to pick on the core project. And then the type is something, I don't know if that would be very helpful for you. It's basically the different, like, is it a bug, an epic JIRA issue? So I think you just want to see all issues outstanding regardless of the type of issue it is, but the status would be important for you. So in here right now, it's showing you all of them. So whether the issue has been closed, been released already, whether it hasn't even been started. So what you want to do is narrow this down to just what are considered outstanding core project issues. So there may be some in documentation that haven't been released yet that the support staff's working on. So that's considered outstanding. In progress, that's an issue that's currently being worked on by the developers. In review, that's where our QA team is testing it. New and open mean that they haven't been started yet. And then reopen, that could be a possibility if a JIRA issue has to be reopened for some reason. Those are all considered outstanding ones. So I've checked those all. And obviously I'm not checking resolved and done because that's not considered outstanding. So I've got that set. And then also, as I'm looking at the columns listed on here, there may be some columns missing in here that I'd like to add. And so if I kind of look, here's the summary of it. Here is the developer that's assigned to that project. Here's the status of that. So this one's telling me that it's been assigned, but new, meaning it hasn't been started. So obviously I've got the resolution column to say it's unresolved. When it was created, the last time that the JIRA issue was updated. Due may not be a very important one. So you may want to get rid of that one if it isn't helpful for you. If fixed version isn't a column that you have that is listed, in order to add the fixed version or remove the due, you want to go down to columns here and click on that and then search on that and then either check it to add that column or uncheck it. So if I want due date to be unchecked, I've got fixed already checked, obviously, because it's showing, and then click on done. It's going to, redo my structure of my listing of outstanding issues. So that's really nice, is to go in and add the columns that are important for you. So definitely go in and play around with that and find the columns that work for you. Once you have this set, then you're basically now ready to save this filter. So I go up, right now it just says search. If I go up and do a save as up here, I can name the filter. Naming USPS, JIRA, and then click on submit. And what happens is you'll see underneath here, there's a starred area, and that filter I just created is listed below it. And also it changed that search on to my name of my account filter my filter that I just created. So I've got one filter all ready to go. And what's nice is once I have like a template kind of filter set up, I can just start creating other ones based off of this template. So if I want to create a separate filter for just outstanding USAS issues, I'm basically just going in here and unchecking the USPSR and checking the USASR. And then what you'll notice here, obviously type, I'm going to skip again. One thing that you may notice is this little red exclamation point here that's basically saying, if I click on that, that some of these, like the reopen status, is not something that the USAS project is using. So that really isn't a helpful one because USAS isn't using it. So I can just check off of that. But if I kind of scroll through the rest of them, all the others, these are still all considered outstanding type of issues. The specification is also one that is considered outstanding. So that's something that wasn't in the USPS project that is in USAS. So you may find that you see those exclamation points just because those statuses may be different for each project. So once I have all my considered outstanding USAS issues, and again, I can check my key. These are all the core USAS projects. I could go ahead if I want to again and add remove columns. But at this point, I do want to be careful when I save this, because if I just click on save, it's going to overwrite the payroll JIRA issues filter. I need to create an additional filter for USAS. So I want to make sure I click on the down arrow and click on save as, and then name my new USAS one. And click on submit. And now I'm going to see both of those on here underneath start. So they're both on here now. And again, it did change this up here to reflect that. I've got a question here. Can you give us the link to the JIRA dashboard, please? When I use the link in the customizing a JIRA dashboard, it sends me to the SSDT help desk. Okay, I guess I need to take a look at that. I thought I had that fixed. Let me go real quick to where I have that in the documentation. Scroll up to the top here. And so are you going to this link here? Is that what you're, okay, yeah, Diana, thank you. When I click, let me click on that. It could be because you're not logged in yet. Do you see a little, I have to use a different browser. Okay. And we'll get this stuff ironed out, but do you have like an actual like login, like an arrow off to the side, which I think I have displayed in the documentation? So I'm not sure if you're logged in or if you have an account set up yet. So that could be the reason why it's taking you to that, but we will look into that. Okay. All right. So the actual, yeah, that should be taking you to the actual JIRA dashboard. I just don't know if you guys aren't able to log in yet. One thing I want to mention, and I didn't cover it before I got started here on the dashboard, is when you're logging, you have to log into JIRA in order to create a dashboard and filters. And if you have already logged into the wiki, when we migrated the wiki over a couple weeks ago, if you logged in and you created an Atlassian account, you will use the same login information for the cloud-based JIRA. So if you did not log in to the cloud-based wiki, you didn't create an Atlassian account yet, when logging into the JIRA, you're going to use your Management Council AD account for your username. And when you do that, it's also going to ask you to create a password. And once that's done, you're in JIRA, you're logged in JIRA, and you want to save that and retain that password because you can use that interchangeably between JIRA and the wiki. So you'll notice mine here is MD. And when I'm looking at it and I'm in the wiki right now, and when I'm also in JIRA, it's the same account. So because once you log into one, it's logging you into the other. So going back, sorry, I'm distracted with the questions here. So going back to my filters in JIRA that I just created, I created those 2 filters. And one other thing, I'm going to do one more just because we did have some questions here. So I created my USAS one. Let's say I want to create one for inventory. I'm going to go in again and just change my project, uncheck USAS, and check the inventory project. And I should look and see, yep, it's all inventory. Again, the statuses are different in this project than they are in the others. So I just want to go in and I could just clear out the selected ones and kind of start over. And I just want outstanding inventory issues. So that would be in progress, in review, and to do. And so again, I'm going to go in and do a save as into outstanding inventory JIRA and click on submit. So now I have 3 custom filters out here. And so if I wanted to go back up to filters and just view them all, I can do that. And what I can do just to check mine is go to the owner and just click on myself, and I'll see my 3 filters that again are all by default starred. So you can keep creating as many filters as you want. Once you get those set up, we're going to go in now and create that dashboard. So I'm going to go over to dashboard, and I'm just going to say view all dashboard, which right now all I have is the default one that comes with it. And so I'm going to use this default, like I said, as a template in order to create my custom dashboard. So if I just went to create dashboard, it doesn't, it's basically from scratch. And you may look at that and say, where do I begin? So I'm just going to make a copy of the default dashboard, which kind of has some some setup already, some gadgets already set up in it, and then go from there and just tweak that, just customize that. So I'm going to go here, way off to the right, and click on Copy Dashboard. And basically, it's going to make a copy of this default dashboard, and I'm going to call it Michelle's dashboard. If I wanted to add an optional description about it, I could. And I also noticed here for viewers and editors, this is basically saying that this is private to you. If you wanted other people to see your dashboard, you could change that. If you wanted other people to edit your dashboard, you could. But if this is something you just want to keep for yourself, you can just use the default settings and click on Save. And when I do that, it takes me immediately to my dashboard with those predefined settings from the default dashboard. And so it pulls in all the projects right away. And I could create filters from that as well. And then we have like an introduction gadget. We have an assign to me gadget, which you guys won't be using because the JIRA issues will not be assigned to you. And we have activity streams. And so some of these may not be helpful. So activity streams is probably something that you won't use. So we can delete some of these gadgets. In order to go in and actually do deletion, you're going to click on Edit. That's going to bring up your gadgets off to the side. And like I said, some of these are already on your dashboard. If we want to get rid of Assign to Me, because it's something that you won't be using, you can click on Delete. And your company JIRA, this is probably something you won't be using as well. I click on the three dots there again, and I can click on Delete. So we'll get into those other options here in a little bit. Also, the Welcome to JIRA, if I don't want to see this, I can delete it or I can move it. You'll notice that when it changes to the hand, I can move it around. But if I just don't want to use this one, I don't want this on my dashboard again, I can delete. And when you delete, it's not deleting it forever. It's just basically moving the gadget back to the gadget bar here, gadget menu. Okay, so what I want to do is I just created all those filters, and they're called starred filters. So what I want to do is I want to add my filters I just created to my dashboard. And the way to do that is I can start typing in the word filter if I want to. And if I just kind of scroll down here, there is a starred filter option. So you'll see this in that detailed steps on how to create your dashboard. Explains how to add the starred filters. So when I click on add, it's going to take it and it's going to take me into the configuration menu first of this option. And it's basically asking me is, do I want to see a total issue count? Like if there are 400 USPS core project issues that are still outstanding, do I want that 400 amount, that running total to show? So by default, it's set to yes. Do I want this to update every 15 minutes to auto refresh? Sure, why not? And then I click on save, and it pulls up my three filters that I saved, that I created not too long ago. And so from here then, it's just basically providing the links for those. Now, if I wanted to keep a window open and not affect my dashboard, but keep an extra tab open of just outstanding payroll JIRA issues, what I could do is I could right click on this and say open link in new tab. And it's going to pull it into a new tab with all of my outstanding payroll JIRA issues. So I could go to filters and do the same thing and click on my filter that I created. But, if this is, if you want to, just use it off of the dashboard, you can do that as well. And it brings up all the different outstanding issues that are out there. And what's nice is in here, you can go in and start doing a search. So if I wanted to go in and type in W2C and do a search, it's going to show all the outstanding issues for W2C. So you can see what's going on. And by going in and adding those columns to your filter, you can see when it's scheduled to be released. if a fixed version has been added, or if it already has been resolved, or I'm sorry, we just have outstanding, but anything that's still new that's waiting to be, worked on, those are all listed in here. So, I basically opened that up in a new tab. I can go back to my existing dashboard tab and add other gadgets on here. So I added the starred filters. There is also, and it's in the steps here. We go down to the filters. And talking about the different gadgets that when you're creating your dashboard, we just did the starred filters. There's also a filter result, which is very similar to looking at the filter that you created. It just doesn't give you the option to actually enter in a search for that, but it does provide a running total. So if I wanted to basically go in, go ahead and add that in here. I've already got filters selected, so I'm going to go down to up to my filter results and add that just so you can see what it looks like. Again, it takes me into the configuration menu, and it's basically asking me which project do you want to do a filter on. And so I can type in the filter that I created, outstanding USPS JIRA issues. How many results do you want to see at one time? By default, it'll be 10, but you can increase that to 50. What do you want to see? What columns do you want to see on your display? And it gives you the default. If I also want to include fixed version, I can do that. And it adds it to this. I can update every 15 minutes, and I click on save. And basically, it's just giving me a running result of the most recent payroll issues. And it does sort it, I believe, by the key number. So right now I'm seeing the 10 most recent issues that were added to payroll. So if this would be helpful, you can add this gadget in. But like I said, in here, you can't do a search like you could if you opened the actual account filter. Then you can do a search. So, so that's kind of the main difference between those two. One other gadget I want to show you is the actual, the one I was talking about, watching issues. And so if I think I click just watch, there we go. This is another gadget that you can add. So I have a couple of issues that I'm currently watching set on here. So when I click on this, again, it takes me into the configuration menu first, and I can go in and say, if I've watched, if I got 100 issues I'm tracking right now, it's only going to show 10 at a time, but it's going to give me an option to go through them all. What columns do I want to show? And do I want to include resolved issues for issues that I'm watching? Do I want to see if others are watching the same issue? It will provide a count of who all is watching that issue. And then do I want to update? And so what happens then is I get my gadget here of all the watched issues. So I just have 3 that I'm currently watching, but it tells me what the issue is and how many people are watching it. And again, if I'm like, oh, I really want to, add maybe the fixed version onto this, I can go back into the configuration and add another, column to my display. So, and then I've got a couple for payroll as well. So it shows me who all is watching it as well. So I think that would be a pretty helpful one. I'm thinking, the watched issues would be very helpful. And let's say I want to move this over here. I'm not sure if the filter results would be as helpful, but that's something out there. And maybe your filters that you've created, so you can open those and see that information. Again, if you don't want the projects, on here, you could go in and actually delete this, and it will delete that gadget off of your dashboard. But I'm hoping that this proves to be a little helpful to help you guys keep track of, what's out there and easy for you guys to look up existing JIRA issues. Do we have a JIRA issue for this one? Do we have a feedback issue for this one? By going in and creating those filters, then you can put those on your dashboard and easily look up that information. So quick overview of that, but that's what the dashboards do. And I will go through these questions here and see if I can help with that, to see if there's a problem with not so much a browser, or maybe a problem with an issue with your account that needs to be done, but it needs to be fixed. But if you're having troubles trying to access it, I know some of you have said something, shoot me an email and we can get that stuff resolved. Okay, so I'm going to click on done. Very important part, to save my dashboard. So now it looks great. It removes that gadgets dashboard. And now I've got my actual custom dashboard here, which is what I have created so far. If I needed to go back in and edit this, I could. We got a refreshed option here that's just going to refresh what's sitting out here. So I think we use it all the time. The support staff, we have our custom dashboards with all kinds of stuff on there. And we've created lots of filters. So it's a very useful tool. Okay, the other thing I wanted to show you is I'm going to go back to the documentation here, and I'm going to go back to our support information. So we briefly covered the JIRA dashboards. The other thing I want to talk about is the service desk. We have these steps here that we updated regarding how to create a ticket. So whether you create it using our new email, or whether you're creating it versus the portal. So I'm not going to go through the email so much because that's pretty self-explanatory. But I did want to show you what we believe are some changes, enhancements that were done with the cloud-based service desk. So this first area describes how to create a service desk ticket via email. The second one goes into how to create a service desk ticket with the service desk portal. And this is a new URL based off of the migration that we just did. And so here's the actual portal URL name. And then it goes through how to create it. So some of this has changed, but most of it's really the same as it was. So I'm not going to go through actually creating a ticket. What I would like to do is show you some of the tips and tricks in the service desk portal that weren't available in the old one. And we did record a little demonstration of that here, so you could go later on and look at this recording, see if that helps you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in, and again, I'm using the same login, just like, if I already have an account that I set up in Confluence in the wiki, I'm going to use that. If I haven't created one, I have to log into the service desk in order to create a ticket. So you're going to go in and use that Management Council AD account email to put that in here. And when you do, it's going to ask you for a password to create it, and then you're in. And you just want to retain that password. So go ahead and add this. Log in. And it remembered my password that I created before. And so here I'm in the new service desk, the cloud-based service desk. So like I said, here is where you would go in immediately and create a new ticket. And whether it's a new feature, enhancement question, a support question, or a reported bug. And so what I want to show you is this request area up here. And I have myself as an ITC staff member of Meta. So I'm working for Meta, and as you all know, you can only see tickets for your organization. So I'm only going to be able to see the tickets for Meta. I'm not going to be able to see SWOCA's or anyone else's tickets, just Meta's. And so what I can do underneath this request is I can filter this to see just the tickets that I have open that I have created, or I can select all the Meta Service Desk tickets So I'm just going to pick on that one. And what's going to happen is it's going to allow me to go in and see all of these tickets. And one thing I want to make note of, and I think we still need to kind of look into this, is that you notice it says the status is open request. Well, a lot of these say done. So when I click on that, I notice this open and close request. It's maybe something we need to talk to Atlassian about, but I kind of want to ignore these two top ones and just focus on these ones underneath the state software support desk. These are the statuses that you want to pay attention to. So if I wanted to see all closed tickets, I click on done, and it's just going to display all the closed tickets for my organization. If I want to go in and say, I want to see any that are currently pending, it's basically what it's going to do is just show, I'm going to have to uncheck that again, and it's going to show just the pending tickets for my organization. So obviously what we're seeing here right now is the type of ticket, the actual ticket number, the summary of it, the status, obviously, the project, which would be, it would be Meta's, but it's under the SSDT support desk, and the requester. So that's the ITC staff person. So in there, in order to actually go in and see the details of the ticket, I would actually click on the ticket to see all the details, to see the description, the detailed description, all the comments, stuff like that. What I want to show you is a new feature. I'm going to go back and just change this to done. And what I found that wasn't available in the old JIRA is the ability to go in here and do a search. And you could search on the old, but it only searched on the summary field. That has changed, that has improved. Now, if I go in and do a search, it's going to look for anything in that ticket, whether it's in the summary, whether it's in the detailed description, whether it's in the comments of the ticket, it's all going to be listed in there. So like if I put in W2C, see if there's any out there. There is one that was closed. So somewhere in that ticket, it has the word W2C in it. So yeah, so you just click on the actual ticket and you're able to go in and view all the details of that ticket. We have a question here about, I'd love to see a date. That would be great, but we would have to ask Atlassian about that to see. We do not have the ability to go in and add additional columns in here. But that's something that we definitely will check on to see if there's a way that we can either customize this, that I don't believe we're able to at this point, or if it's something that Atlassian can add to here in order. I noticed that when I go in here to manage columns, it doesn't give me any others. If I click on the down arrow, no other options. So these are the only options that are available right now. But yeah, I agree, a date would be good, but we will look into that to see if that's an option. So, and the reason why I'm showing you guys this too is because we don't have in the dashboard a way for you guys to create filters on the service desk project. You can create filters in all the other projects, USAS, payroll, feedback projects, but you can't because of the restrictions that we have with the organization. There isn't a way for us on the dashboard to just allow you to see just those tickets for your organization. So that's why I'm showing you this, because this is kind of the best replacement for that, or the best substitute for that, is to be able to go in now that they've enhanced this. This was the biggest issue I thought with the portal, is not being able for it to only search on summary. That doesn't help much. But now that they've improved that, you're still able to go in and take a look, and you'll be able to search on all your ITC's tickets. So yes, much improved for sure. I think those are the only things I really need to show you on the service desk. So again, you can create on, tickets on the service desk. I think if I go back here, it takes me back to the main menu where I can go in and create. But again, those requests, area here is pretty neat. It allows you to go in and actually do some filtering and searching on your support desk tickets for your organization. So again, that's listed in there with the demo. In our documentation, it kind of goes through and shows you how to go ahead and do that. I went through how to create a ticket in here as well. So, and I know some of you use the portal quite a bit to create your tickets, and some of you use the email. But, I think this is another good reason to, use the portal when you're in there, whether you're creating a ticket or finding tickets, you're all in the same spot. And allows you, to add attachments and stuff like that to the emails, make it, difficult to do that stuff. But when you're creating a ticket in the actual portal, you're able to go in and I want to take you through here quick. Like I said, this is all very similar to what you saw before, but you can go in and browse and add like a spreadsheet or a Word document that you've been, working on. So it allows you to do all of that in the portal. So there's this more flexibility in the portal than in the email to add those type of things in here. Okay. Any questions about the actual portal features? All right. Well, I think that's all that I had to cover. I just wanted to touch upon that. But again, we do have the recordings in the documentation as well that explains this. And if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to create a ticket or shoot me an email. And we can make sure that, you're able to get everything set up properly in the dashboards. Okay. If there are any other questions, thanks everybody. Have a great weekend, and we will see you guys, I believe, next week for our next Fridays with Fiscal session. Thank you.